Hi. So, I think when we look back in the future at what we do today in payroll, I think we're going to think it's a bit crazy. We're going to look back at it on the way we look at the penny farthing. We'll kind of go, why did we ever do things like that? And that's why I think it's still a really exciting time now to be in payroll. I think the technology is getting to the point where we can genuinely transform the way that payroll is run. So I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about actually how that's going to look in the future. So I'm going to focus first on what's coming up next. What are we doing next? Where are we going in the next few months? I'm going to do a little bit then on what comes later. And in the bit that I was touching on there, it's going to talk a little bit about that vision. Where are we going to go? What are we going to achieve? And what problems are we going to solve? The further we go down that list, the more uncertain we become over exactly what it is that we will do, exactly how we solve those problems. But hopefully you'll come through this and understand what challenges we're looking at and where we think we can get to. So starting with the kind of next, what is next? Well, within our Cintra Pay product, one of the key things we want to work on, and we are working on with our outsourced team, is payroll workflow. So we want to reduce the number of buttons that you have to press, and we want to make that as automated as possible. So we currently have a project going on, which is working with our payroll outsourcing team to try and work out how can we make this as efficient as possible? How can we make it so there is less room for mistakes, fewer errors coming in, fewer things that you have to remember, no checklist, no all of those things. We have an existing payroll workflow tool, but we know that there's a lot that still needs to be done to that before it can actually go in prime time. Once we get that sorted out with our own outsource team, we'll then be looking to then roll that out to all of our customers as well and teach you how to use that and teach you how to make the most of running payrolls as efficiently and as quickly as possible. We have a higher education report. So I'm not sure how many education customers we have here, but anyone who's in further education knows there's some new reporting requirements coming in. It's a key thing. It's been a big piece of work for us, and it will solve a really important problem, and that will be coming in the next few weeks. And then another key area that we're going to be looking at is timesheets. So at the moment, we have an ability to record time, and for a lot of you with flexible work, that's something that you do need. But at the moment, we think it's a bit clunky and it's not anywhere near as good as we want it to be. So you have to go one by one, add each line and say, hey, I did 3 hours on Wednesday and that 3 hours gets approved. Actually, how most people work is they do something in a week and they get 1 week approved, and that makes their life easier. So we're going to be working on improving that. That's some of the key areas we're looking at in Cintra Pay. And actually, one of the things that I didn't put on here that came up during the conversations is, and it did come up from another comment earlier, is at the moment, for those software customers who have to log in through the VPN, sometimes some people have to enter 2 or 3 passwords through that process. We are slowly but surely moving all of our customers onto an updated version of our infrastructure. And as we do that, we're going to be taking away one of those passwords and making that a bit more pass-through. So after you are logged in, you won't have to do a separate login to IQ. It's a small win for customers. It's a huge piece of work that's related to a whole load of other stuff, but that's another key area that I think it's important to say. We want to make your life easier. We want to reduce impact on those things. Then when I look at Cintra Cloud, obviously we're going to continue the innovation on the Cintra Cloud area. So we mentioned it before, but we are beginning to roll out one-off payment wizard. So at the moment within Cintra Cloud, you can do a one-off payment upload. That's really useful, but actually in a lot of cases, someone just needs to add one-off payment or a couple of one-off payments. Go into a spreadsheet, filling that out, manually doing that, it's painful. So we're going to be working on that. It's currently in testing at the moment on the website, and it should be exposed very, very soon. Payroll sign-off and submission is one of the areas that at the moment is a little bit weak within Cintra Cloud. So for all of the outsourced customers out there, to do that, you have to basically send a message and say, yes, I'm signed off. What we want to do is we want to make that much more formal. You press a button, you say, I'm submitting, everything is ready to go, please process my payroll. That will then lock your payroll and mean that you can't make any more changes in Cintra Cloud and you're happy. And that just reduces all of the risks of mistakes, misunderstandings, missed messages. We'll be able to track that and apply our data to make sure as well we're hitting all of our SLAs, and that will make life better for all of you. So it sounds like a really small feature. Again, it's quite a lot of work to get that just right and to trigger those things in the right way. Mark touched on this a little bit with Cintra Groups, but within Cintra Cloud, we're working towards auto-calculation. With auto-calculation, as you add data, it will automatically recalculate and give you the net figures. And we think this is really important to how outsourced customers, and for those software customers who start opening it up to other people, this makes a real big difference to how you can see that data. Because once you get that data in, you upload it, you edit it, you change it. You don't have to wait for a payroller to go in and recalculate. You'll be able to see that data. That will come with a health warning saying some of this data may not be 100% because there are some extra processes that sometimes need to be done, but it will get to you to probably 98% of the truth. And we think that that's a real game changer in the way that you work with the system as well. And then the final piece that we're going to be looking to do within Cintra Cloud is we're going to be rebuilding our holiday and absence into Cintra Cloud. And that will enable all of our outsourced customers to be able to actually use holiday and absence within what we offer. And it will eventually replace what we have within our current self-service platform. That's going to take a bit of time until it's at that final level, but we're getting a basic version of that ready, and that's coming in the next weeks and months ahead. Then I think we touched on some of this stuff, but I'm going to go through where we are, what we're doing with Cintra Groups. So similar to the payroll sign-off, we're going to be adding a whole process for manager sign-offs and manager validation. So we didn't show any of that in the group's presentation because it's not there yet. We're building that, we're planning it out, and we're thinking it through. But we'll be making sure that when a manager has entered the information and submitted it, you'll have checks, you'll have a process, you'll have all the things that need to be done, and you'll be able to see what all of that is, and that's going to be absolutely vital. So Cintra Groups, you've only heard about it today, we're already thinking about what comes next. We'll be rolling auto-calculation into Cintra Groups to make sure that that's effective. And then I won't recap too much of what Mark said, but we'd be talking about budgets, which we believe is going to be fundamental and change the way this whole product works and provides for you. Now, that's kind of what we're working on next. And I don't think I've even covered all the things that are coming next. It's a high level. I've tried to pick out what I think are the most important or interesting things. There is an ongoing level of small things that are always coming out. So one of the things that I did pick up from some of the feedback is we're not as good at communicating that with you as we can be. This is one attempt at doing better with that, but we'll also be looking to get better at communicating with you as customers, all the changes as they're going out, what has happened in the last 2 weeks, what can you now use, what can you get access to? And that will then cover the 1,000 gaps of what I've said to what's actually going to be happening. Looking a little bit further into the future, we've talked quite a bit about what is our hub and spoke model, how we work with partners and how we move that forward. And a couple of people went, oh, do you have this? Do you have that? So we are going to be looking at 2 main new areas that we want to get partnerships with. So we're going to be looking at expense and we're going to be looking at time and attendance. Now, expense is relatively straightforward. We can do that without too much hassle. We'll be able to find a really great provider, and we're going to do very similar kind of analysis to what we've done with both Pinpoint and IntelliHR and choose someone absolutely amazing. On time and attendance, there's a lot that we have to learn and we have to work through. So those customers in the room who have asked about time and attendance, I'd love you to get in touch with me so that we can work with you and bring you on this journey with us. Because our understanding of time and attendance is there's quite a lot of different products out there that focus on specific market segments and do that. We want to choose the one that's going to be best for the largest number of our customers. We'll work with somebody on that, and in the same way that we have been doing with our other partners, we'll build amazing integrations so that the data flow will be as automatic and as quick as we possibly can. And I think that that's going to be really crucial. This is just, again, the next stage in our partner journey. We will be working with more. We'll be looking to bring more products to you that will be fully integrated and will make your life easier, and you don't have to go and search the market to go and find things and then integrate them. You'll be able to take things off the shelf that we've done all the research for you and made sure they are great products properly integrated. And then what else are we going to be doing from our own side? And this is, it's quite hard because we work on a feedback cycle. So actually, we don't predict too much what we're going to definitely do 6 months from now. But one of the things we can definitely say is we are going to continue to work on that holiday and absence feature, and we are going to make that amazing, and ideally we're going to get it to the point where it is far superior to what we have within our current self-service, and we can then start to show that to you as our customers and give you something much more modern and able to do more things. There was a question, will we look at groups integration with finance? I think we will do. There's a big question about over what that would do, how that would work, what value it would get. As we're looking at budgets, we need to work through that and work out how that's going to work. I believe that's going to be a key area that we need to focus on. And then this, I think, will be quite popular with quite a lot of our software customers. We want to eliminate the VPN that we have with you guys. So it's a source of enormous stress, problems, and confusion. At the moment, we get sometimes customers saying, Cintra's running slow. And we go and we investigate and we do a lot of it, understanding what's happening here. We check the database, we check all the logs. Everything is running fine. We test it ourselves. It's all working good. About 70 to 80% of those sorts of queries come down to the fact that someone is working from home, is VPNing into an office, which is then VPNing in somewhere else and has a tunnel into us. And there's all these different hops that go potentially all around different parts of the country and parts of the world and creates everything to go much, much slower. So we're looking at taking Cintra IQ and making it available directly within the cloud environment so that actually you no longer have to go through all those steps. It will make things faster, it will reduce burden overhead, it will stop you having to enter in lots of different passwords and open up a special program. You'll be able to just go online and access it. That is an awful lot of things that we still need to do from an architecture and technology point of view before we're there. But we are confident that we're going to get there over the, this is the sort of 6 months to a year sort of timeline. That's when we're looking at when we'll hopefully be able to get there with that. And that's just a really brief overview of some of the things we know we're going to be looking at over the next 6 months to a year. But I also want to talk, at the beginning I talked about how we'll look back at payroll in the future and go, this was a bit crazy. And this is because I think there's a bunch of problems that we don't know the answers to. Why is there still so much manual intervention? There may be a few of you who've got everything pretty automated, but in most cases, there's still too much manual intervention in payroll, whether that is before the data gets in, whether it's after the data goes out, whether it's somewhere in the middle where we don't have something fully automated. We want to get to a world where there is virtually no manual intervention and the data comes directly from the person that it comes from. So if that's the employee, they input the data directly and that is done and there's no steps in between. Why are there so many cut-off points in payroll? Now, we all know why they are right now, but we want to be able to ask that question and see, can we work with you to remove those cut-off points? Can we change the way that we think about payroll to do that? And it won't be an entirely software solution. It will be software combined with a huge change in processes. But these are big problem questions. This might take years before we can solve them, or we may never be able to solve them, but these are the sorts of challenges we want to set ourselves as a payroll-focused business. Can we solve these problems? Can we eliminate these things? Can we get to the point where we don't have cut-offs in payroll? And this ties back to the previous presentation about getting access to your pay instantly. Why do I have to wait to get my money from you? That's what employees can wonder. And particularly people who are lower paid, sitting there waiting for 4 weeks for their money. They join on, say, the 21st of the month, and they won't get paid for another 6 weeks because of the cut-off points. They want to be able to get access to their money when they want it. Whether it has to be all live streamed directly into their bank, or whether it is, I will ask for it when I want it and whatever schedule I choose, those are the sorts of things we want to be able to support in the future and change the way that we think about payroll. And that's going to be, all of these things are really big, hard problems, but they are problems that we're focused on and we want to work through and solve. Going back to some of the data problems, working with Intelli and people like that, we want to ask those questions. Are we paying too much for employees? Are we paying too little? How does our salaries compare? So actually go then beyond just looking at the payroll data and look further and deeper. Because as we do more of these first problems, the payroll job will start to become less about managing data and managing the process, and more about understanding what's going on and understanding how you can improve employees' life. And I think that that's a fundamental shift in the way we think about those things. But being able to look deeper at those problems, that's where I think we need to go. And then finally, a bit of a kind of crazy idea and things you like to think about, but actually, as people adapt and they want to be treated as individuals, we want to move more to the world where everybody has very individual sets of terms and conditions. They create their own world. They work from Hawaii three months of the year, or they do all these kinds of crazy things. And being able to handle all of those variations and handle it in a way that's sensible and doesn't involve you doing lots of manual work and having lots of pain, those are the sorts of areas and problems we want to solve. Now, I'm setting a big vision of things that we can solve, and we can see maybe 20% of the answer to some of these problems, but we cannot see the 100% way. And on each one of these things, we're going to need people to come with us and work through those problems as we try to think about them. We believe that if we can do this, then we will be able to look back at our processes and the way we run things today and think, wasn't that a little bit mad? So our hope is that we'll be able to get there over the next few years, but this was really to kind of give you an idea of the vision. So we've talked a little bit about what we're doing next, giving you some insight of what's coming not long after that. And hopefully you can see that we're going on a big vision, we've got big investment, and with our focus on payroll, we hope that we're going to be able to solve some really, really big challenges in the future. And I'm now going to hand over to David from Unitera.